Ever feel like you're posting all over social media, but getting nothing but crickets? If so, keep watching because I'm about to share the 6 keys to creating content that will actually get you coaching clients. Hey, it's Jason Moss. I'm a multi-6-figure business coach, and I've helped thousands of coaches around the world launch and grow their businesses. And look, having great content is one big key to success when it comes to getting clients. But there are a number of other things you've got to make sure you have in place in your business too, in order to attract clients consistently. So if you want to know what those things are and what you need to have in place in your business to create success as a coach, I put together a free client attraction guide that walks through all the details. You can get that right now by clicking the link above or down below. And again, that's completely free. I'd love to share it with you. I think it's going to be super helpful for you. First big key to success when it comes to creating content that will get you clients is you've got to be the expert. When somebody sees your content, there has to be a feeling of, I see how they're an expert at what they do and can help me get from where I am today to where I want to be. So your content needs to do a good job creating that belief and that feeling in the minds of the people who are reading it. Now, how do we actually make that happen? Well, there are a number of different things you can do to create this. You can educate people through your content. So similarly to how I'm creating videos like this, hopefully if you're watching this, if you haven't checked down and clicked on something else at this point, you're like, wow, this guy kind of knows his stuff. Like he seems like he has some credibility. And when I talked about being a multi-6-figure business owner at the beginning of the video, that was probably like, okay, he's helped thousands of coaches just like me. Like I feel confident that this is someone who really knows their stuff. So there are all these little ways through this video that I've actually communicated to you in watching this that I'm an expert at what I do. And also just sharing and educating and adding value. Walking away from this video, you're gonna feel like, wow, like there was some really valuable things in there that I didn't know before, or I'm thinking about things differently now. Also breaking down myths and mistakes. What are the common things that your niche believes about their situation, about their problem or challenge, or the things that they want that just aren't true? One of the most powerful ways that you can help somebody see you as an expert is by giving them an aha moment, helping them connect the dots and see something they didn't see clearly before. When you do that for somebody else, the way they feel about you and the way they see you changes dramatically. And that's one of the biggest keys to success when it comes to positioning you as an expert in somebody else's mind. One other big thing that does this well is your results and your testimonials. So any clients that you've worked with, any success stories that you've had, post about them, talk about them. Somebody else seeing that is probably one of the most powerful ways that you can showcase to someone else that you really know your stuff and that you are an expert. Now, a lot of coaches get tripped up on this in the early days because they're like, I don't have any testimonials. Maybe I haven't worked with very many clients, or maybe I haven't worked with anyone at all. So what do I do? The truth is everybody starts there. And so in the early days, you may not have testimonials that you can post, but one of the most powerful things that you do have is your own story, your own transformation. Chances are the coaching that you want to do is probably related to some journey that you've been on yourself. If you're helping other people heal through trauma, maybe it's because you've also been on your own personal journey with that, and you've done a lot of your own inner work and have seen firsthand the transformation that that's been able to create in your own life. So in the early days, and even when you're more established, one of the most powerful keys that you have to help somebody else see you as an expert is just talking about your own story and your own transformation and what's possible for you now and how things are for you today. The A to B, in other words, where you were and where you are today, being able to showcase that for somebody else can help them connect to, wow, this person's been on this incredible journey. They've done all this work and they've probably figured a lot of things out along the way. This is someone who could probably really help me with this too. So don't worry if you're in the early days, you don't have a lot of testimonials. Sharing your own personal story can be a very powerful way to help somebody see you as an expert. The second key to success when it comes to creating content is to make your people feel seen. One of the best ways to attract other people to you is to use messaging and language that makes them feel like when they read your posts and your content, like you really get them, like you really understand what they're going through and their challenges and their problems and their desires and the things that they want. When people see this, it's like you're reaching out across the screen and you're helping them feel connected to you on a much deeper level. And the way that we do this in content is by using reflective language. So as an example, have you ever felt like you're just posting and posting content all over social media and you're getting nothing but crickets? And it's like you got like a couple hearts from like your mom and your uncle and your aunt, but like certainly no clients. Like it's not like people are reaching out to you and saying, hey, I want to hire you. And it can feel super frustrating. You're creating all this content, you're putting your heart out into the world, but nobody's responding. And you can just feel confused or lost in terms of what the right next steps are to take. Do you ever feel that way? And chances are if you are on the other side of the screen right now and you're listening to that and you're like, wow, like, yes, I do feel that way. And I feel really seen by what you just shared because I feel like you understand me. I feel like you're reflecting back to me my life in a way that really speaks to the challenges that I'm experiencing and what I'm going through. This is how you create resonance between you and somebody else, by using reflective language. All I did there was basically just mirrored back your own experience. That's it. And you can do this for your ideal clients too. So this is something that's great to do in your content, on your website, on sales pages, really taking the time to understand, number one, like what is going on in your ideal client's world? What are those challenges? What are those desires? And how can you mirror back to them those things so that when they encounter what you do, they go, wow, like this person really gets me. Now, one other great way to do this on social media is by using your own story. Oftentimes there's something about social media in particular, like when you use the word you, it tends to kind of get lost a little bit in the sea. The posts don't get as much engagement, but when you use I, when you speak from your own personal perspective, those posts will often get a lot more visibility and a lot more engagement. So you can use your own story as a way of also mirroring back the challenges that your ideal clients are going to. So for example, I often talk about, when I first got started coaching in 2016 and I made like $734 my first 6 months, and I was posting and showing up and just feeling frustrated because I wasn't getting any traction. And that's a big piece of my brand story, and I talk about that. And the reason I talk about that is because when my ideal clients see it, who are in that place, they go, wow, Jason's been through what I've been through. And I feel like he gets me because he's lived it. And that creates resonance and connection between you and somebody else. So where can you use this reflective language more? In your website, in your sales pages, in how you're communicating with your ideal clients. The better job you can do at this, the more you're going to create that feeling of resonance and connection in the minds and the hearts of the people that you really want to reach. The third key to success when it comes to creating content is to share your unique approach. People, particularly who have been through other programs, or they've worked with other coaches, or they've just tried other things to solve a problem or challenge that they have, or to meet a desire or a need, and things haven't worked, there's often going to be some barriers out for those people and resistance out for those people. And especially when it comes to the idea of hiring you, they're often going to be asking themselves the question like, number one, what's going to make this any different from the things that I might have tried in the past? And how do I know this is going to work for me when I might have tried other things that didn't work in the past? As an example, I work with a lot of health coaches who are helping people lose weight. And they're often working with clients who have been through other diets and they've been through weight loss programs and it hasn't worked. And so part of your job as someone who's selling a transformation and a solution to a problem is to help somebody else see how what you do is different and how this thing that you provide is going to work for them, even if what they've tried in the past hasn't worked. You have to help somebody see that clearly. You do that through content. So talking about, hey, if you're the kind of person who's been through X, Y, and Z, here's why those things often don't work. And here's why what I do or what I provide is different. Sometimes just that first piece is really powerful too. You've been trying, diet after diet plan. Here's why diets don't work. If you don't address the deeper beliefs and the mindset and the kind of internal healing side of this, you're just going to end up on this hamster wheel again and again and again. And that's why what I do is so different, because we're actually tackling the piece that almost every other diet out there leaves out. And once you have that piece in place, that's when you can really lose the weight, but also keep the weight off. So that's an example of how I might do that for like a health coach. Depending on your business and where you're at, obviously this is going to look different. But the key and the principle here is help somebody see how, number one, what they might have tried in the past hasn't worked, why that hasn't worked. The other big key to this is you also want to talk about what makes you different. Chances are you're a coach. There's probably a lot of other people out there who do similar work to what you do. So talking about what makes your approach unique and special is another thing that's going to help certain people feel more connected to you. Oftentimes we shy away from really talking about this because a lot of people are afraid that if they really own who they are and their specific, unique way of doing something and just their own quirks and the things about their personality that are different from everybody else out there, then no one's going to want to hire them or they're going to turn people away. That's really the core fear. And that's true. You are going to turn people off if you start talking about your deeper values and the things that you believe and some things about who you are that are polarizing. That is true. But the flip side is that there are going to be other people out there that feel so much more attracted to you because of it. And this is another big key to success when it comes to creating content. You can't be afraid of being polarizing. You have to really own and dial up fully who you are and what makes you different, and trust that there are always going to be enough people out there for you. And the more that you do that, the more that you become a lighthouse to your perfect people. I see a lot of coaches who are just watering down their message. They're trying to make everything vague and generic and what they do so palatable that they end up missing out on the opportunity of really making deeper connections with a smaller group of people. This is what you want. You want the kind of people who are like, I feel like you're exactly like me because you have the same values as me. You're also super heart-centered. You're kind of spiritual. Someone who really likes Metallica. And that was my first concert that I went to when I was, 13. And all these unique little quirks about you also really resonate with me. And that makes me feel like you're my person. So we have to dial up what makes you different. And this is who you are, and it's also your program and what makes your program different. So what is unique about your approach and who you are and what you do? What are the things that are maybe the most polarizing about you? And how can you bring those to the table in your content? That's what's gonna help someone feel so much more connected to you. Number 4 is to make people like you. This is not a great way of explaining this, but I don't have any other phrase to be able to describe that. Really what it's about here is you showing the world who you are, showing your humanity, bringing that fully to the table so that people don't feel like you're just like a marketing robot or like a faceless company, but someone who is like a living, breathing human being with quirks and flaws and challenges and a life. This is super important because as human beings, we do business with people. We don't do business with businesses. Why do all the biggest businesses out there you see when it comes to like Super Bowl ads and all these like ads on TV, they go out and they hire influencers. They spend millions of dollars hiring, like Kim Kardashian to like do like a Super Bowl commercial or whatever. Why do they do that? Well, it's because they know that people do business with people. We do business with human beings. We feel more connected to people. So if you can put a face to a brand, it's automatically gonna sell more, especially a face that is well recognized and a face that people connect with. So really owning who you are and bringing that to the table in your content. Now, what does this look like? Number 1, it's authenticity. It's talking honestly and transparently about your life. And sometimes that's sharing things that are vulnerable, things that you are kind of uncomfortable talking about. As an example, one of my posts that, last year blew up when we moved to Denver here, my business was really blowing up and I was at the point where I was making like $30,000 a month and we still didn't have a couch and we barely had any furniture because I had so much scarcity around money that I still really struggled to spend on things that are not essential. So I was, saving all this money and investing it back into the business, but couldn't buy us a couch. And so I shared this post about, how I was making all this money in my coaching business, but we still didn't have a couch. And it was a picture of my empty living room. And people loved it because it was authentic. It was real. And you see so many business coaches out there that are like, posting pictures of their Lamborghinis and how rich they are. And just an authentic, vulnerable story about like, hey, by the way, this is something that I'm still really struggling with, like my relationship with money and how I relate to it, even as someone who's making a lot of it. That was really authentic and that connected with people. So sharing those stories that maybe you're a little bit afraid to talk about, those things that you're a little bit afraid to share, and just in general storytelling. This is a very powerful way to connect with people. When people hear stories, it engages a different part of our minds than when we're just being blasted out with information or tutorials or things like this. Storytelling is a very powerful way of connecting with people. So how can you make people like you? Through being you and through showing up fully and authentically as yourself through your content. The more you can do this, the more connected people are going to feel to you. It's definitely going to turn people off, but there's going to be other people who are like, wow, this person's awesome. I want to be closer to them. And this is the way that you create it through your content. The 5th key to creating great content is to overcome objections. So if you sit down and you make a list and ask yourself, this is a very powerful journal prompt, by the way, what are all of the excuses or beliefs or blocks that somebody might have that would prevent them from hiring me? Just make a list of all those things. So for example, for me, if I'm thinking about the hundreds of sales calls that I've been on, all the things that people say, it's too expensive for me, things are too tight financially, I don't have the time right now, I'm about to go on a vacation or I'm starting a new job or whatever it is, or I've enrolled in this other program, what makes this different, or there's probably like 5 or 6 common themes that I think come up for most of the sales calls that I'm on. Those issues are probably going to be similar for you, and there also are probably going to be some unique things depending on your niche and the people that you serve. But if you sit down and you make a list and then ask yourself, how can I reframe or overcome these objections through my content so that by the time someone actually gets on a call with me, they already believe the things that they need to believe in order to be open and receptive to working with me. This is how you overcome objections through content. And it can be a very powerful tool that you can use to help somebody connect with a set of beliefs that ultimately, when they get on the call, it's like the sale is is kind of already there because they don't have all these blocks or barriers that are holding them back. So for example, when it comes to making investments, I might create a piece of content. I've created content. Maybe you've seen some of my content on this, a piece of content that talks about the first business coach that I ever invested in and how it was 3 years into my coaching journey and it was $2,700. And I was so afraid. I was like, oh my God, this feels so edgy for me because I had never made an investment before. And how over the next few years, I made over $100,000 from applying what I learned inside that program. When I look back on that investment, it's the single best, the highest ROI investment that I've ever made in my journey. And so oftentimes when people think about making investments in a coach, they're so focused on the cost. They're so focused on what something costs, what they're giving up. They don't think about what the return is. And they don't realize that, when it comes to coaching programs, especially when it comes to business coaching, like $6,000, $7,000 in a coaching program, that's maybe 2 clients. You've already made that back. You're going to get tools inside the program that I run in order to help you do that. So that's an example of how I might reframe how to think about investing. And just creating a piece of content and sending that out and posting that on social media is going to help my audience connect to that shift around how to think about investments. That is going to help overcome that objection as well that they might have to investing in themselves. This is an example of how you might do this. You could take any one of those objections or barriers or blocks on your list and do exactly the same thing. Something else that comes up for a lot of coaches that, maybe holds them back is imposter syndrome, a belief that, oh, I'm not qualified enough, or if I'm not certified, that means that I absolutely can't coach others or can't get paid to coach others. That's just not the case. I've worked with a lot of coaches who haven't been certified. And certainly, I'm not against certification, but it's not necessary to be able to help people. And if you can create a specific transformation in somebody else's life and help them get from A to B, you don't necessarily have to be certified in order to build a business. I'm not certified as a coach. So I might talk about those things. And this is an example of how we might reframe that belief. So you can do this in your business too. And when you can overcome those objections and help shift those limiting beliefs and those perspectives through your content, it's going to change the mindset that somebody's in when they actually get on a call with you. And so rather than having to kind of work through all those things on a call, someone's already seen your content. They're like, okay, I believe the things that I need to believe to be open and ready to move forward with this. And it's going to make your calls a whole lot easier. So where can you do more of this in your content? Where can you help shift those beliefs? The best way to do this, by the way, is through storytelling. Talking about your own journey or talking about the journey of a client that you work with. It's a much more accessible, inviting way of helping them kind of go through that narrative and that kind of perspective shift in their mind. Doesn't put them on the defense. So storytelling is always going to work better for that. And the 6th key to creating really great content is to make powerful invitations. It's not enough just to create a lot of great content that does all of the other 5 things in this video. You also need to tell people what to do next if they want to work with you. People need to know what your programs are, that they exist, that you actually have ways that you can help them on a deeper level. A lot of coaches forget this piece. They're like, why aren't people reaching out to me? I'm like, are you making them aware through your content all the time about your programs and how to work with you and who your programs are for and what the transformation actually is and what specifically they need to do next in order to take that next step and work with you on a deeper level? If people aren't aware of those things, or if you're being timid about sharing those things, oftentimes there's some resistance. You may not want to come off as salesy, but you might be forgetting that your programs are awesome and that this is a way that you can really help people on a deeper level. And you being too afraid of sharing them is not actually helping anyone. So we need to be unapologetic and bold. And so you got to show up and tell people about those things. So making powerful invitations, super important. And these invitations should be happening all the time through your content, through social media, through your stories, through your emails, however you're communicating with your ideal clients. Really being on top of making these invitations regularly and letting people know about what you do is one of the biggest keys to success. So when it comes to making really powerful invitations, couple of principles that I think will be helpful for you. The first is whenever it comes to making an invitation, you want to talk about the transformation instead of the process. So rather than talking about what you do, like in other words, how on a really deep level you're helping people, navigate trauma healing and all the different modalities that you use and blah, blah, blah. People don't care about any of that stuff. What they care about is the A to B. How much better is life going to be? What are the benefits going to be on my life? How is this going to change things for not just me, but my family and my relationships and my finances and every dimension of my life? How is this going to impact me? This is what sells coaching. So for example, when I pitch Coaching Launchpad, I don't talk about worksheets and all the details about the program. I'm just just spend a little bit of time on that. But for the most part, what I talk about is the freedom and fulfillment that comes from getting paid to wake up every single day and coach people full time, and how good it feels to be paid to do what you really love instead of showing up in a 9 to 5 and feeling like you're dedicating the best hours of your waking day to a job that you know in your heart is beneath your potential, and actually getting to feel energized in the morning, to wake up and feel like what you're doing is meaningful and has purpose, and making really good money doing that so you can have financial freedom and flexibility and be able to travel and take trips and just to not worry, to not be stressed about, where the next dollar is going to come from. Like, this is what I talk about when I pitch Coaching Launchpad. Notice we didn't really spend any time talking about, what the details in that little mini pitch is about, what the program actually is. 90% of it was like, here's what life is going to look like for you after going through this transformation. And chances are, if you're listening to this, you're like, wow, that's what I want. Like, now I'm excited about Coaching Launchpad. I don't even know anything about it. So the same thing for you. We want to focus on the transformation instead of the process. The second thing is you want to be really clear in your pitches and your invitations about like who your programs are for and who they're not for. So this is for the coach who is, making less than $5,000 a month in their coaching business. Either you're just getting started or your clients are kind of inconsistent, you're in the early days. This is not for people who just kind of want to go part-time. They don't really have big goals when it comes to their business. They just kind of want to do like the side hustle thing. This is really for coaches who have the vision of, I want to go full-time. I want to quit my 9 to 5. I want to wake up every day and coach people. This is who this is for. As an example, this is me laying out like Coaching Launchpad. Who's it for? Who's it not for? Same thing for you, right? So in your business, when you do make those invitations, you want to be really clear about like who your programs are for and who they're not for. When you do a really good job of that, you're going to qualify people much more effectively. So the people who do reach out to you are the right people. And you don't have to have a lot of conversations with people who aren't a good fit. And then the last thing when it comes to making invitations is you want to direct people towards a very clear next step. So we don't want to be vague and unspecific about this. At the bottom of your post, you want to say like, if this is for you, click the link in the comment section below and go submit an application right now. And after you submit an application, my team is going to review it personally and we'll reach out to you within the next 48 hours with next steps. There's no guessing in that invitation what the next step for me to take is. Maybe it's, DM me the word clients or DM me the word transformation, and we'll go back and forth and we'll have a conversation. We'll figure out, what you need and whether or not this might be a good fit for you. So you want to be really clear and specific about like, what is that next step for somebody to take so that they're not guessing, they're not wondering, what do I do next? They actually have clarity on really what to do. So hopefully these 6 tips should give you some clarity on what to do in your content, what to shift, how to show up in a much more powerful way so you can start creating content that really moves the needle in your business, attracts more leads, more clients, people reaching out to you saying, hey, I want to work with you. This is what this is about. If you apply these principles, you'll be well on your way to making that happen. As I mentioned earlier, creating really great content is one key to success when it comes to getting coaching clients. But there are a number of other things you got to make sure you have in place in your business too. If you don't have these things in place, you can have the best content in the world, but you're not going to get clients. And on the flip side, once you do have these pieces in place, it becomes so much easier to attract high-paying clients consistently month after month after month. So if you want to know what those other things are, what you need to have in place in your business, I put together a free client attraction guide that walks through all the details. You're definitely going to want to check this out. You can get it for free by clicking the link above or down below, and you can go download that right now. I hope you do. It's a really awesome free resource, and I can't wait to share it with you. Now, before you go, I'd love to hear from you too. Leave a comment down below and let me know of the 6 tips and shifts in perspective that we covered in this video. Was there anything that stood out to you? Any particular insight that I shared that was like, oh wow, that's really interesting to me. I wasn't thinking about that clearly before, or this is a new perspective for me that I think is really going to help me. I'd love to hear what was your biggest takeaway. So comment down below, let me know. We've got so many awesome videos coming on this channel soon. If you're wanting help launching, growing your business, more tips, more strategies, more videos like this, definitely subscribe. We've got so much awesome stuff coming down the pipeline. Look, if you're a coach, I believe in you 1000%. I think you're doing super important work. You've got so much to share with the world. So keep showing up, keep doing the work, keep putting your butt in the seat, creating the content. I am so looking forward to seeing how this unfolds for you. So until our next video, hope you're having an awesome day, week, and I'll see you soon.